Good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear Carissa.
Thank you. So thank you all for getting time to participate in today's Positive Parenting webinar meeting. My name is George Carissa. I'm the regional NACADA Coast Regional Manager. And with me is Madam Lucy Werimu, who is a Public Education and Advocacy Officer based here at the Coast Regional Office, and who is going to be our lead facilitator. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe majority of us in this meeting are parents, and this session definitely is going to be very, very helpful to our day-to-day lives. Of course, parenting has been an issue which needs to be addressed as it has contributed to most of the challenges our children are facing today. While most of us strive to be great parents, we may also find ourselves confused and frustrated by the endless challenges of parenthood. There is a Swahili saying that goes by, uzaa si kazi, kazi ni kulea. So there are so many challenges as far as parenting is concerned. So parents always want to give their children guidance as they move through childhood. At the moment, our children are going through many challenges ranging from violation of their rights, cases of indiscipline, to rising cases of children indulging themselves in alcohol and drug abuse. We have so many cases of children who are now who have started using drugs at a very tender age. So this is an issue which we really need to address. So although these factors are contributing to some of these challenges, but poor parenting has really been cited as a major cause of all these challenges. And it is important for us to look at this issue of parenting. So when you look at the school situation, at the moment, there's a lot of blame game going on. Teachers are blaming parents not taking their responsibility. And on the other hand, also parents are also blaming the teachers. So it is high time we stop this blame game and focus on how we are going to address this issue of parenting. But for sure, poor parenting has contributed to most of these challenges that our children are facing at the moment. So today, my colleague Lucy is going to take us through positive parenting, and she's going to take us through the different parenting styles. And of course, we are going to look at on how these parenting styles have an impact on our children. She's also going to take us through myths and realities about alcohol and drug abuse, because there are so many myths and realities going on at the moment. If you can remember, even when we started this, when we had this problem of COVID-19, sometimes last year, there are some myths which were going around about issues like taking changa as a cure for COVID-19. At the moment, we look at our school children, some of them believe that taking the weed or smoking bang can help them pass the exams. Sometimes we hear some pregnant women talking about taking Guinness will assist in the growth of the unborn. So these are some of the myths which are going on around, which we need to address them. So my colleague Lucy is going to take us through some of these myths and realities, and also she's going to take us through the reasons to why our children find themselves getting into or being initiated into drug use or substance use. And also lastly, we are going to look at the signs and symptoms or the early signs that may indicate that our children could be indulging in alcohol and drug abuse. So basically that will be the scope of our presentation for today. And after the presentation, there'll be a question and answer session. So please, you are free to ask any question as far as parenting is concerned. You can also chat box as the presentation is going on, and at the end of the presentation, we'll also respond to your questions. So without taking more time, let me take this opportunity to invite our facilitator, Madam Lucy Werimu, to take us through this session. Lucy, karibu.
Thank you, Mr. Karisa, for that warm introduction. Indeed, we are going to talk about positive parenting because parenting in the current world has proven to be challenging. So with this presentation, we hope to equip parents with the right skills in order for them to be able to help their children to avoid some of the problems that there are in life. Of course, one major one being drug and substance use. So I will share my screen on the presentation. As you have said, if anybody has a question or a comment, kindly use the chat box. We'll respond to the questions after the presentation. So allow me to share my screen now. Be able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so we will continue.
You just need to put it in a slideshow.
In slideshow, okay. So I guess it's better now. So as was said in the introduction, parenting can really be an intensely rewarding job, though it can also be at the same time extremely demanding because most of us come to it without any preparation. Hardly are parents prepared for the role, yet they have a great role to play in nurturing and keeping their children safe and healthy, while also helping them to grow into independent and well-adjusted adults. So that being the huge responsibility upon parents, what are some of the parenting styles and what is the impact on their children? Of course, this is in relation to substance use prevention. We're going to talk about 5 parenting styles: the authoritarian parent, the authoritative parent, the permissive or the indulgent parent, the neglectful or uninvolved parent, the overprotective parent. And going to the first one, the authoritarian parent is one who places strict and firm limitations and control on their and order their child, allowing little verbal exchange. So rarely does that kind of parenting allow a child the opportunity to be themselves. So in this parenting style is all about obedience. The child has to be obedient no matter what. That is the mantra in the home. Now with this parenting, the focus is on obedience, and the impact is that the child loses, so the parent loses the ability to influence their child through reasoned discussion or to help them develop good thinking skills, because the child is not encouraged to reason with their parent. This, of course, will hinder their reasoning skills. Now, the children become rebellious in this kind of parenting. They also become aggressive and they become dependent on their parents. They possess low self-esteem, they appear insecure, and they exhibit more behavioral problems. They are less likely to develop internalized values that equip them to make wise decisions. And that being the case, then with that kind of parenting, the children are at a high chance of initiating substance use. That is the authoritarian parent. The second parenting style is the authoritative parent. Here, the parent encourages children to be independent, but still limits and controls their actions. The parent supports a child to develop according to their maturity level. They set behavior boundaries with children, places high maturity demands on children through having an open discussion, encouraging children to obey, and dictates to the child what they should do. In the authoritative parenting, the child is encouraged to make decisions and also learn from their mistakes. So with this kind of parenting, the child becomes happy, they develop good self-esteem, they're able to interact well with their peers, and they have better mental health. And with this parenting style, there is a low chance of initiating substance use. Going to the third parenting style, this is the permissive or the indulgent parent. Here, the parent is highly involved in a child's life, but places few demands on them, sets few rules and boundaries, then find themselves reluctant to enforce, meaning that the parent will set few rules or demands on the child, but they are unable to enforce these rules and demands on the child. And the parent will even tolerate the child's misbehavior. Children will do whatever they want and they always get their way. And the parent will also have that belief in them that their child or their preteen is just a child and they are not mature for anything. So with this parenting style, the focus is on their children being happy and giving them freedom. But then now, the impact is that there is no setting of boundaries here as a parent. And this predisposes the children to alcohol intake and drug use at an early age because the children have no boundaries at all. So the children, as a result of that, will have little self-control. They will have a hard time following rules, and they will possess egocentric tendencies, meaning that they'll become selfish. Everything is about them. And that being the situation, then there is a high chance of them initiating substance use. Going to the fourth parenting style, this is the neglectful or the uninvolved parent. And this means that the parent is mostly uninvolved in the child's life. The parent may provide for basic needs such as shelter, but they are uninvolved emotionally. Neither do they support nor control their child's behavior. Children show poor self-control and lack of independence. Some even reject children. And unfortunately, their parents will think as long as they have provided a roof for their children, they have provided food, they have provided them with clothing and school fees, then that is all they need. However, that is just part of what they should provide. They should not just focus on providing the basic needs, because children who are raised in this kind of parenting style, they learn to provide for themselves early and they avoid being dependent on others. They may also exhibit antisocial behavior, delinquency in adolescence, and are at an increased risk of substance use and tend to manifest fear, anxiety, and stress because the parent is uninvolved in their life. So again, with that kind of parenting style, there is a high chance that the child will initiate substance use at an early age. Going now to the final parenting style, the overprotective parent. Here, the parent sees the world as a dangerous place, especially for the child, and they express their fearfulness of the world to their child in the habit of rescuing your child from dealing with the harsh realities of life. Sort of being a helicopter parent, they'll want to protect their children from anything. They keep telling the child, don't do that, don't touch that, don't go there. So with this kind of parenting, the focus is on being the child's ally, meaning sort of being a partner in this child, to this child, instead of using rules and consequences for bad behavior. Now, the impact of this type of parenting is that the child lacks experience and may panic in stressful situations, because where they would have been taught how to navigate a stressful situation, the parent would come and rescue them, so to speak. So the child lacks that kind of experience in navigating through stressful situations. And as such, the children will become insecure, and they also become indecisive, meaning that they're not able to make decisions on their own. And that being the case, then they have a high chance of initiating substance use. So those are the 5 parenting styles that we have talked about today. And I think by now you already see which parenting style is ideal when it comes to nurturing children the proper way and also preventing them to substance use initiation. However, that being the case, then you may be wondering, then what should you do as a parent? We are saying that as a parent, you need to recognize that your parenting style may make your child more or less vulnerable to behavioral problems and the use of alcohol as well as other drugs. And also as a parent, you need to critically evaluate yourself and try to avoid extremes. Finding a balanced approach to parenting is an important step you can take as a parent to prevent your child from underage drinking and drug use. So this is where positive parenting comes in. When we use positive parenting skills, we are able to prevent problems. We are also able to detect them early when they do occur, and even resolving them becomes much easier when we use positive parenting skills. Now, what is the focus for positive parenting? The focus for positive parenting is threefold. The first one is that as a parent, you need to be responsive. Being responsive means that you connect with the children regularly through listening to understand, talking, and asking questions. You realize that listening is deliberate, it is purposeful. It's not like hearing, yeah? You may hear noises in the background, but when it says you listen, you're listening to understand to this child. You're listening so that you can talk to this child and engage them in a conversation by asking them questions. Being responsive also means that you show interest in them and that you're concerned for their well-being. Also, it means that you find out their views and feelings, while at the same time you share your views with them. For example, when you're watching TV as a family, then an advertisement comes up, be it for maybe alcohol or any other item being advertised. You would ask your child, what do you think about this advertisement? How do you feel about it? And encourage them to share their views. And then you could also share your views with them. This way you will be responsive to the child. And we are saying this is part of positive parenting. Now, the second aspect of positive parenting is that as a parent, you need to provide structure. Providing structure means that you establish clear rules, communicate the rules and consequences clearly, and you also need to be consistent. So there should be rules in the home, and these rules should be well known to each child, and also the consequences for not following up upon these rules. And then again, be consistent as a parent. Don't have rules broken by one child and they walk away with it, and the same rule broken by another child and they are disciplined. There needs to be consistency in providing structure. And then structure routines as much as possible. Allow involvement in chores. This means that you would give your children opportunity to get involved even in household duties. They'll be involved in like washing dishes, tidying up their bedrooms. They could even be involved in preparing meals for the family and such kind of chores within the house. And then you also need to establish rituals like eating together and having family activity. You decide as a family that we eat dinner at 7:30 and we all need to be home by 7:30, we eat dinner together. That would be a ritual that would actually enhance bonding of the family. Then there's also family activities that you'd engage in together. For example, even going out on walks, maybe going swimming together, and such kind of activities that will bond and bring the family together. Then disciplining the child should be followed through on consequences. When the consequences for rules are not followed, then discipline must follow through on such consequences. And then while we may discipline, we should also be quick to encourage each time a rule is followed. I remember back when I was growing up, hardly would a parent mention that you've done something good. But there you do something wrong, that is when you realize, oh, kumbe, I can be beaten up. So much as they do good things, also be quick to encourage and commend them when they follow the rules that are there in the home. That is how we would provide structure. Then you also need to be involved. Be involved in the child's life. This would mean that you monitor and supervise schoolwork and other activities like screen or media time. At least with school, we have the diary that you have to fill in every evening. There are sometimes comments there from the teacher to you as a parent. So are we in the habit of checking these diaries, or have we delegated that perhaps to our house helps and other people who are our relatives that we are living in? So as a parent, we have a responsibility to monitor and supervise schoolwork and even other activities. Do our children have phones? What is it that they do with these phones? Are they chatting with other youth, or are they engaged in social media sites that would land them in trouble? We need to monitor what it is that they are doing. Also, we need to get to know the friends of our children and also the parents of these friends of our children. Then we also need to monitor their use of pocket money. If we give them pocket money, do we follow up to find out what that money was used for? Or do we just give the money and wait for the next time they'll be asking for money from us? We need to monitor their use of pocket money. And we also need to encourage their interests, their hobbies. For example, cooking. As a mother, you would encourage your children to join you in the kitchen and encourage them if that is the hobby they are exhibiting. Are they interested in art, for example, in music also? We need to encourage their interest. And then we also need to be involved by spending time with them. Spending time here means at least 10 minutes per child per day. 10 minutes where you're really engaged with this child. You're talking to them, you're having a conversation to them, and they are telling you about how they spend their day. They are telling you about their fears. They are telling you about their aspirations. So 10 minutes per day per child becomes very important. So that would be 10 minutes times the number of children you have as a parent. And this way you will be involved in the child's life. It would not be ideal to bring the children together sort of in a group and try and talk to them as a group. No. The best way is that you spend 10 minutes with each child per day and get to really talk to them, listen to them, and that way you'll be involved in their life. So that is it about the aspects of positive parenting. But then now we may be wondering, why would children still take drugs? From research that has been conducted by NACADA, there are several reasons why children would take drugs. One is that there is influence from other people. These people could be family, unfortunately. They could also be friends, because children see, children do. What they see other people doing is what they will do. So when they see a relative or a friend engaging in drug use, then it is likely that they will also engage in drug use. Then there's also popular media, from the movies, the cartoons, the TV shows. the music videos that glorify drug use. This way, the child may be enticed to engage in substance use. Then they may do so to escape and self-medication. Perhaps they are feeling unhappy, they are feeling stressed, and they need additional energy to focus, maybe when they are studying. But as we will see earlier, some of these things are just myths that are misleading and fueling substance use. Then there is also the issue of rebellion. They want to behave aggressively, and they want to display independence, and they also want to make you angry as a parent. So they will engage in drug use in order to be rebellious and to annoy you as their parent. Other reasons would be that there is misinformation. Nearly all children know someone in their surrounding who claims to be an expert on recreational substances, and they will assure him or her that the risks are minimal. So this inaccurate information is dangerous, but it can be avoided. It can be avoided when you, as a parent, you provide the correct information about substance use to your children. And this information is found in our website. There are topics that you would have discussions with your children about substance use from right down from age 5, the time they join school, all the way up to their young adulthood. There are ways, or there are discussions that will show you how you can be able to talk to your children about the dangers of substance use. Now, another reason would be boredom. There are children who are not able to cope well when they are idle, or when they feel alone and they crave excitement. So for them, they may want to engage in substance use. There is also instant gratification. Drugs and alcohol work quickly, and this now becomes a shortcut to happiness. That instant high that they want could be mistaken for happiness. And some may be seeking that. That is why they would engage in drug use. There's also the issue of lack of confidence. Children who are shy can do anything under the influence of drugs. They may be misguided that drugs will give them confidence, so they would try to experiment and see if really these drugs are able to make them have more confidence. Those are some of the reasons that children would make children use drugs. Now we look at a few myths and realities around parenting and substance use. What would be myths that parents have in relation to substance use? As a parent, you may say that my child is not exposed to drugs and would not use drugs anyway. Well, that is a myth. The fact is that children of all ages are exposed to drugs and substances in the home, at school, and even in the community. So that being the situation, the question is whether your child is getting and using them, because the exposure is there. The concern should be whether they are getting and they are using them. Another common myth is that it is normal for children to experiment with alcohol or drugs. Well, the fact is that experimenting with alcohol or drugs is not normal, because when they experiment, they begin to use. And using could lead to abuse, and abuse can lead to addiction. Therefore, any use is not acceptable. Addiction here meaning that they would need to be taken through a treatment process, either in an inpatient or an outpatient facility to be treated of their addiction to substance use. So it is not normal for children to experiment with alcohol or drugs. Another myth we would have as parents is that my adolescent child does not listen to me. Well, the fact is that children will idolize celebrities, but they also admire and look up to you as their parent. So as a parent, you have the power to shape their attitudes about alcohol and drugs. Children who learn risks about alcohol and drugs from their parents are less likely to use than those who do not. That is a very important fact for us, that children who learn the risks about alcohol and drugs, not from their peers, not from other relatives, not from school, but from their parents, they are less likely to use than those who do not. So as parents, we have a role that we need to teach our children about the risks involved in alcohol and drug use. Another myth is that my children do not care what I think. That is indeed false, because children do listen to you. Even if they may roll their eyes and pretend that they're not listening to you, they do care what you say to them and what you think and what you expect. So let us not give up and say that our children do not care what we think. Indeed, they do. What we say to them is important, and they do care what we expect of them also. Another myth is that as a parent, you may say, it is okay for me to use drugs because I'm an adult. Well, your children are watching. We said earlier that what children see is what they will do. So your children look up to you and want to be like you. When you drink or smoke, your children think it is okay for them to do it too, no matter what you say. You cannot be preaching water and taking wine. So if you tell them that drinking and smoking is harmful, then you also need to stay away from these things so that they can actually see that these things are harmful. So if they watch you struggle to quit drinking or smoking, they will understand the difficulty of breaking their addiction. Show your beliefs about alcohol or drugs through your actions, and your child is likely to believe you. Our actions indeed do speak louder than our words. Another myth is that I don't want to isolate my child by being too strict. Well, children need clear understanding of your expectation. They may test you occasionally by pushing boundaries of the rules you set. Develop a strong parent-child bond in which you take control. And that way you will be protecting your child. You're not being too strict, and then you're also protecting them against the dangers of substance use. Now, another myth is that I can teach my teenager responsible drinking by providing alcohol and a place to consume it. The fact is that if you do that as a parent, allowing teenagers to drink may instill a sense of comfort in alcohol use, which could increase their tendencies to drink with or without their parents present. So should you as the parent be the one introducing alcohol to them and trying to teach them responsible drinking in quotes, then it is likely that they will go overboard even in your absence. And even when you're present, they will still want to go overboard. So the best thing as a parent is don't be the one to introduce these things to your children. Be the one to tell them about the dangers and the harm of substance use. Now, when you're talking about positive parenting, is that when it comes to drug use, most children are vulnerable, but not all are yet using alcohol or drugs. So as a parent, you need to take active steps to start the conversation. Start the conversation early with your children, and you'll be able to prevent them from engaging in alcohol and drug use. Now, what are some of the signs that you'd be able to observe as a parent and get concerned, or what are the red flags that you'd look out for? Now, the early warning signs of drug use, they are usually a combination of physical, psychological, social, and even educational. We will go through the educational signs. These are in relation to school. So they will skip class. They will be constantly late to school. There is a general loss of interest in school. There is poor school performance, especially for learners who are performing well, their performance may drop. Then there's complaints about poor class conduct and attitude. So as a parent, you get someone to school that this child is becoming unruly in class and they have a negative attitude towards school. Then they may drop out of organized activities. For example, if your child was involved in one of the school clubs or school teams, be it the sports team, then they just drop out for no explained reason, then that would be a red flag for a parent. And they could also drop out of school altogether. So these are some of the educational signs that would be red flags towards substance use. There are also social signs. This would be changes in personality and behavior. They would have changes in friends. They would change where they hang out. If you knew that perhaps they sit around the corner with their friends playing football, now you no longer see them anywhere near the home. You actually have no idea where they usually hang out with their new friends. And then there would be noticeable hostility and outbursts of anger. Then they would be constantly lying to you. Then there would be stealing of small items from the home, disappearance of clothing and money because they have to sustain their drug habit, and they would have increased demand for money. We were talking earlier about pocket money. So assuming in a day you give about 150 shillings, then they would say that is no longer enough. I need about 200 or 250 shillings every day. So where is this increased demand coming from? Then there would be an explained appearance or disappearance of money. Because as I said, also they are trying to sustain a habit they are getting into. There are also psychological signs. This would be depression, overactivity, talkativeness, meaning that they are talking too much, or they become silent and withdrawn. They will have mood swings. They could also appear confused. They appear anxious. They would have hallucinations. Their behavior becomes unpredictable, and they lack ambition and drive. Nothing excites them. They have nothing to look forward to when they wake up or when they start their day. They have lost all ambition and drive. There's no motivation. They have apathy. And then there is loss of memory. They cannot remember things in the recent past. Those are some of the psychological signs that would be red flags for substance use. Physical signs. Physical signs include loss of physical coordination. For example, you'd be able to tell when somebody is drunk, you'd see how they are staggering. There could be changes in the eyes, either the eye pupil will dilate, and that would be an indication of substance use. Then there is slurred speech. Overall changes in physical appearance. If somebody used to be neat and well kept, then they become shaggy, they no longer comb their hair, they no longer care about their physical appearance. That would be an indication. Then they have a dreamy or a blank expression. They are trembling. Then you'd be able to observe needle marks on their arms. This would mean that they're injecting drugs into their system. There would be disappearance of drugs from the medicine cabinet. If we have medicines we keep at home and they keep on disappearing, then we would know that indeed somebody is making them to disappear, because there's also abuse of prescription drugs. Then there would be unexplained appearance of pills. This would be perhaps medicine that is not prescribed to them, but you keep seeing pills maybe in their bags or in their rooms. Then there would be seeds, there would be bongs, rolling paper, and other drug paraphernalia. These would be some of the physical signs of drug use among our children. Now, that being the situation, what should you do as a parent? We are saying that these signs could also signal mental illness, such as depression. And of course, they could also be red flags for drug use. So do not be quick to jump to conclusions. You need to reach out. Reach out as a parent, and also reach out for your child. You need to talk about this with your children. Bring up the subject to the child. Be available and understanding should you discover or see evidence of substance use. And should they need treatment, then you need to support their recovery by attending family therapy and encourage other family members to offer empathy and compassion. We normally say that substance use dependence is not just a disease or a problem of the one who is undergoing treatment. It becomes a family disease. So everybody in the family needs to encourage this one, and they need to attend family therapy and also offer empathy and compassion to this one. Then you can get help through the number 1192. This is a NACADA toll-free number that if you call, you will be able to speak to our counselors, and they will guide you further on how to help your child or to refer you to the nearest point of assistance where you can take your child. There is also a youth center at the Kenyatta National Hospital for children aged 12 to 25 years, where they can be assisted in matters of substance use. Then we also have here in Mombasa, the Meritini Treatment and Rehabilitation Center that is addressing the challenge of substance use among the community here. And then there are also quite a number of private centers spread all over the country, and these are available in our website. You'll be able to see all the centers under each of the counties where there are. So there is help. As a parent, you only need to reach out and help will be provided. So do not panic, do not jump into conclusion, because help is there and help can be provided should your child be engaged in substance use. Now, in conclusion, we are saying that positive parenting skills will help us as parents to prevent problems because of how we relate with our children. If we're involved in their lives, then we'll be able to prevent problems and be able to guide them in the proper way before they even get enticed into substance use. Then we'll also be able to detect the problems early, and when they do occur, we'll be able to resolve them easier. So that is the threefold component of positive parenting. That as parents to help us to prevent problems, to detect them early, and when they do occur, we'll be in a better position to resolve them easier. So as I had said earlier, there is help. Should you need somebody to talk to on drug and alcohol, there is the NACADA toll-free helpline, the number 1192. You call for free and you'll be given assistance, be it about your child, be it about you perhaps as a parent or any other person you may know. Help can be provided through that NACADA toll-free helpline number. Thank you for paying attention to us. We will now go to the chat box and see if there are any questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Lucy, for taking us through this informative session. So the session now is open for questions. If you have any question on what we have been taken through on the different parenting styles, on the myths and realities, on signs and symptoms that indicate that our children are now indulging in alcohol and drug abuse. So the session now is now open for questions, please.
I'm seeing a comment here from our colleague, Wilfred Mbogo. He says that positive parenting is for the parents and upcoming parents. Yes, indeed. We need not leave anyone behind with this message. Even if you're not a parent now, the message is even for you as an upcoming parent. So thank you very much. Elfas Were, we acknowledge your congratulations to us. Thank you for paying attention.
I'm not seeing any questions on our chat box. The session is still open, please. For any
There's
question.
actually one. I don't know if you have Maureen Macau. I don't know if you've looked at that.
Yes, there is one question for Maureen.
Yes, it's actually a question you can address.
Yes, Maureen is asking, how do you help someone who has gone through rehab but keeps on relapsing and shows no interest in life? I think to help such a person, you need to also address the other problems or the other challenges that this person is experiencing. Because for somebody to even resort to substance use, it is usually a way of finding a coping mechanism towards other challenges that they're having in life. So with such a kind of a person, try and find out what is it that is pushing this person towards substance use, because you may take them to rehabilitation and they will still come back to the same environment. So try and address the other challenges in this person's life and see how that can be helped first, and then now encourage them to go to rehab and seek assistance.
Thank you, Lucy. Ladies and gentlemen, any other question or clarification? It seems there are no more questions. With that, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for getting time to participate in today's positive parenting meeting. At the same time, let me also take this opportunity also to invite you to our next positive parenting webinar meeting that will be this coming Friday. So all of you are invited. So at this juncture, let me take this opportunity to invite our Manager Public Education and Advocacy, Madam Susan Maua, to say something and then wrap up this session, please. Madam Susan.
Thank you, Coast Region team. Why don't we give up for this team for taking us through. We have learned not just about the types of parenting, but also some of the myths that we find even as parents. You know, sometimes we think of only the children themselves as having myths, but even as parents, we also have our own myths that make us not address the issues that affect the children. So thank you so much. Remember that you can also go to our website where you can find materials for children of different ages, because prevention needs to start early before they even begin to use drugs themselves. So it's very important that they have the right information. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to find materials for age 6 to 8, 9 to 12, age 13 to 15, and 16 to 18. So that you can reach out to children out there. That information is very important for them. And also as parents, because this was a session that was also covering parents, remember that you can always go to the website. And also there is a booklet there, how you can hold conversations with children from the age of 2. You may think they're young, but when it gets to adolescence, it is probably too late for you to start talking about it, because you will not know when they begin to use. So having the conversation early, and it also makes it easy for them. So good job, Coast Region. And please join us. Let the others also know. Join us on Friday for another session coming from a different region. So thank you so much. Back to you,
Thank
George.
you, Madam Susan. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you everyone for getting time to participate in this this session. So at this juncture, nasema asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Let's meet on Friday for our next session. Asanteni.
Yeah.
Thank you.